Okay, in the previous video, we created a simple world to help draw connections between the natural world as students understand it and the logic model that we created using a complex logic sentence and its truth table. Okay, that was all some very difficult work for students, but they needed that concrete example to help them understand it. And now let's evaluate some specific examples. So when I talk about evaluation of a compound sentence, we're going to start with the truth value for the logical constants, the logic constants, or the case number, and use that to evaluate the truth value of the sentence. Okay, so let me give you an example. Here's a truth assignment. There's a truth value for P, Q, and R. This, if you remember, is case 1. It's what we call the Osprey case for this sentence. And if I notice that P or Q implies R, this is how you evaluate that. I place in a value for P, which is 1. It's given here in the logic assignment, or excuse me, in the truth value assignment for that case. And the value for Q is 1 and the value for R is 1. All three values are 1. Okay, so how do I evaluate that? Okay, remember, for a disjunction, we evaluate the disjunction first because that's the order of operations. And for its disjunction, if one or both is true, then the disjunction is true. So that was the first step of the evaluation. Now you look at the implication. Remember our rule. An implication is only false if the consequent is true, or excuse me, if the consequent is false when the antecedent is true. Well, that's not the case here. They're both true. Consequent is true, antecedent is false, so that means the implication is true. And so we say that sentence evaluates to true under this truth value assignment. Is it true if an animal eats fish or is a bird, then it can fly? Yes. In the case of the osprey. That means under this truth value assignment, this sentence has a value of true. That's what that means. But remember, we had we had 7 others, but I'm just going to look at one other truth value assignment. And that is where P is true, Q is true, but R is false. That means the animal eats fish and the animal is a bird, but the animal cannot fly. If you remember, this was our penguin example. By the way, as you hear me talk now saying, oh, that's the penguin example, you see the value that you can get out of creating a simple example world for students to kind of hang their understanding on. Okay, so now we're going to evaluate the sentence again. The difference here, look over here. We had ones for all of the logic constants over here. Over here, the first 2 logic constants are 1, but the last one is 0. So again, we evaluate the disjunction first, and if one or both is true, then the disjunction is true. And now we evaluate the implication. Again, remember the rule. If the consequent is false while the antecedent is true simultaneously, then that sentence is false. So this is the case where the sentence is false. So that sentence is false. Is it true if the animal eats fish or is a bird, then it can fly? No, not in the case of a penguin. Again, we're encountering 2 different truth value assignments, one that makes the sentence true and one that makes it false. Students struggle with this. They'll say, well, so is the sentence true or false? And the answer is it depends on the truth values. So again, that's just another example of how we're going to have to help students understand this. So I encourage you, there's really 2 steps to this. First, creating the simple example world, and second, step-by-step evaluation so they can understand evaluation better.